My name is H.K. Gray. I'm 18 and I work with Youth Testify and Jane's Due Process. I got pregnant at 15 and had my daughter when I was 16. I I was living with my fiance since I was 15, and a year later I found out I was pregnant. When I found out I was pregnant, my dad was homeless and my mom was incarcerated. So I knew I had very slim options on getting abortion care. Okay. I found out about the judicial bypass process and went through Jane's Due process to help get the care and requirements I needed to be able to sign off on my abortion. With the help of Jane's Due process, they helped me navigate all my barriers and all my logistics so that even with an anti-choice judge, I was still able to get access to my abortion care. I know that my choice was selfless and was made for my family instead of what I wanted. But the thing I want people to leave with from my story is that a judge was able to not grant me my care. He was able to continuously put me into poverty to where I would not be able to care for not only my daughter, but for whatever child I ended up having after. And because of this, I was incredibly nervous going in to see the judge. And I want people to know that having these laws are making it to where teens are not being able to get abortion care. And they're furthering young parents being poor or just not as equipped as older parents. I was already a mom to my daughter, so I knew coming into this pregnancy it would definitely be more difficult since I would be having already one mouth to feed, let alone two. And it was a little scary, but I knew that for sure, almost immediately, I needed to have an abortion. I was nervous, but I was kind of already used to the entire situation. Before I was ever pregnant and needed an abortion, I wasn't even able to go to the dentist without forging my dad's signature to get the care I needed because he was homeless and my mom was incarcerated and there was no one to take me to the doctor, let alone like sign off for an abortion. I was definitely nervous going in, but at that point I was just kind of used to how everything was at that point. Yes, I had my fiance and I had Jane's Due Process who hooked me up with a lawyer, and they paid my sonogram and they also paid for some parts of my abortion. I started sharing my story because when I was going into the clinic, I didn't see anyone that was already previously a parent and having to go through the judicial bypass route. So it was kind of a little bit of an isolating situation, even though I had support, because I thought I was the only one. And I know now that I'm not. And I think it's important for us to educate not only on teens getting abortions, but also teens being moms and also teens being moms that have abortions. I want them to know that even though it seems, and especially in like movies and books, it seems like the only people that are getting abortions are like teenagers and super young adults, but it's normally a little bit older age group that's getting them the majority of the time. So it doesn't make a lot of sense to have all these restrictions and rules on younger people, especially when they're not even in the 10% of who gets them the most, let alone, all the barriers they have to go to just being a teenager, not even a teenager trying to seek abortion care. If the judge had ruled out of favor and said I couldn't have an abortion, um, I definitely would have been irritated, but at a certain point, I guess I would have had to accept it. You can only do so many appeals before you run out of time to actually get an abortion in Texas. So I probably would have just ended up having to be a mom of two at the age of 17 and just try to struggle and make the best for my kids as I possibly could have made. I do want to say, although it's not like super important in my abortion story, that, I feel like the system that we have in America has kind of made it to where my abortion was as difficult as it was, because of how we have incarcerated people and how we treat homeless people. I wasn't even able to have my parents as resources. Um, and in other countries, people that go to prison and people that are homeless get treated a lot better than they do in America. So I was able to have all of this stuff, and hopefully, I was able to luckily be able to get my abortion care. But in other countries, if it was the same situation, it would have been easier and it wouldn't have been as stressful for me. The judge was definitely anti-choice. I could tell that within about 5 minutes of being there. Um, but he basically was asking me like why my dad was homeless and why my mom was in prison and all this stuff. And when it came down to it, I had to, be like, I don't know those things, because it doesn't make sense to ask someone like, why is your dad homeless? Because there's not one reason. And there's also not a lot of explaining to do for that. It's just that was the situation. Um, and I almost didn't get my abortion until I had told him that I was not eating as much as I should as a pregnant person so that I could feed my daughter. And then after that, he decided I was mature enough to be able to get an abortion. I was currently working full time when I found out that I was pregnant, and I was working full time, taking care of my daughter, basically not getting any time off because those are extremely hard jobs. And I knew I was about to go into school. So when I got pregnant, I knew that it was not an option. And so when I was going into the courtroom, I felt like I was prepared and I felt like I was mature enough, but I still had to sit there and like basically beg him to accept that I was mature, and like it felt like I was being extremely fake about it. Um, and he even like tried telling me that the only reason why I was going into school was so that I could look mature. And that the only reason why I was like trying to get my GED and trying to continue my education through universities was because I wanted to get this abortion. And that after I got my abortion, that was just all off the table, which was extremely annoying to say the least.